Hey friends, so for today's iftar is an American style dinner, which is steak, mashed potatoes, saute veggies, and some gravy. This is not my cup of tea, but my husband loves it. So for that you need steak. I'm not sure what kind of steak this is, but it's steak. Black pepper, some steak seasoning, rosemary leaves, butter, and some veggies. So the veggies I'm using are carrots and green beans, and some potatoes, of course, heavy cream. So I start by seasoning the steak. So I slice the steak to ensure that it will fry well. So this is going to be some pan fried steak, and season it with salt, black pepper, the steak seasoning. So I ensure that both sides of the steak is well seasoned, and I rub that in and leave that for a couple of minutes, about 30 minutes I think. So in a pan I put in a tiny bit of vegetable oil and then put in the steak. So you want to fry one part for a couple of minutes until it's brown, then you flip it over and fry the other side. So as you're frying the other side, you want to make some slices on this side. This will ensure that the steak would be cooked inside. This is if you are aiming for a well done steak, not any kind of rare steak. So you flip that over again and then repeat the process on the other side, like slice it open a little bit so that it can fry in. Yeah, so you want your steak to be really fried. That is if you want it to be well done. And after both sides are brown enough, like the steak looks quite cooked, you put in some butter and some garlic and also the rosemary leaves. So you will want these flavors to infuse in the steak. So you start by, drizzling them on top of the steak. Um, Bend the pan a little bit, tilt the pan a little bit, and then you scoop some with a spoon and just drizzle it all over steak. You repeat the process on the side of the steak as well. So you do this until your steak is really brown and you're confident that it has soaked up most of those flavor, and then your steak is pretty much ready. You can take it out, put it on a plate. You might also want to put on the garlic, like the fried garlic. You might want to put it on top of the steak. So now to the mashed potato. So in a pan, you boil some potatoes until like fork tender, cooked. You drain it and then you put it back in the pan. But mind you, the stove is not turned on, just the heat from the stove. And then you mash that. I don't have a masher, so I use the fork to mash my potatoes. This is not the best method. It was really hectic, but it kind of, it did the job. So you put in room temperature butter. This is not mayonnaise. This is butter. So I put in about 3 tablespoonful of butter. Mix that up and then ensure that it's well mixed. Then you pour in some heavy cream. So I poured in about half a cup of heavy cream, I think. I don't measure, I eyeball, but I think I'm guesstimating that I poured in. And then you mix that so you can see your mashed potato is fluffy and ready. So there was no need to add any butter to the mashed potato because I used salted butter and I put butter in the boiling potatoes. So now to the gravy. So I used the pan that I fried the steak on and then added a tiny bit of flour, all-purpose flour, which is just normal flour, and cooked that for a bit, like fry it for a few minutes. Then I added some beef stock and let that simmer for a bit. So after it has simmered for a bit, I added some Worcester sauce or W sauce. I can never pronounce this. Worcester. Well, let's just call it double sauce. And then let that simmer for a bit and pour it in a gravy bowl. Your gravy is ready. Now to the veggies, for the sauteed veggies. So I put in a tiny bit of vegetable oil and some garlic, and then the veggies. So I seasoned it with black pepper, salt, and some seasoning cube, rosemary leaves, of course, and the seasoning cube, which is jumbo. So you stir fry that for a couple of minutes. And then I decided to add some bay leaves to give it more flavor. So maybe our choice of veggies would be strange to some people, but these are the veggies we liked. And then it was served. It was quite delicious. So said my husband. Thank you for watching. Bon appetit.